Welcome back to the channel. It has been an interesting few days to be a Celtic supporter, and I have a lot of things I want to talk about related to ANGE POSTECOGLOU, so let's get into it. So Ange is gone, and that is a big story in Scottish football. Obviously, I'm trying to make this a Scottish football thing, but it's more of a Celtic thing. Who are we kidding on? Right, but there's a lot to talk about, very mixed emotions. Obviously, see, I've been struggling what to take with this, but I think that the obviously at Spurs, and I think Hamish from 67 Who made a really good point about it when he said that it's probably the highest job they could get directly from Celtic, which I think is fair. Paul's also here, by the way, just in case you're all wondering, it won't just be my voice. But there's the thing about Ange leaving that's bothering me the most, I think, is, obviously he had no direct affiliation with Celtic. We have no right to think he's going to be here for forever or whatever. Everyone has their own choices and things to make. But you don't have to come in and say all this stuff about the connection with the sport and how big, how much it means to you and how much you care about us. And I think that, because that's what happened with Rodgers as well. Rodgers came in, he was like, I'm a big Celtic fan, love Celtic. He said all these things about how he loves Celtic so much, and then left the first chance he got. Now, it's definitely not as bad as Rodgers, right? I'll put that out there, because at the end of the season, he got the treble. Fair enough, you know what I mean? But my point is that there's a lot of quotes. There's one particular that stands out to me where he said, people keep talking about me going down south and jumping to the first chance I get, but that's just not me. That's not how I'm wired. He actually said that. And then he's taking the first time he can get down south. So I think there's just an element of feeling as though he was giving us this impression that there was this long-term vision, a long-term plan of what Celtic were going to be like and what he was going to turn. I remember specifically an interview after the Real Madrid game. He spoke about how he wanted to make Celtic a Champions League team and bring them on further forward. So he was always talking about how this was, the first 2 years was like the beginning stages of his long-term plan. That's the thing that is getting me, is, if you know that, if you're thinking to yourself the first chance, if I get a big opportunity, I'm leaving, don't speak like that. There's no, I think Celtic fans, would appreciate a bit of honesty that way, but I know football is different and money's involved. It's all, I get it, but it's just for me, he's built up this connection with the sport, and he made it out as if he was going to be here for the next 3, 4, 5 years, and he's jumped at the first chance he's got, which is just not really what I mean, I know we shouldn't be caught off guard by this, because it happened before and it'll happen again, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But this one,
it's sore.
This one is sore, man.
I mean, it's been I think 24 hours since Tottenham announced them, it being official, but we knew on Monday the reports started to come through. So I think we get a sense of how you're feeling, and I agree. I think that as I've sort of let the emotion come down a wee bit over the last sort of 24 hours, my first reaction was fuck him, because it's somebody leaving Celtic, or we get that the guy's not a Celtic supporter, he grew up a Liverpool fan, but it's the way he's played the support. I don't think I don't agree with it. I think it's left a bitter taste. Now, the guy's come in and then he's left after 2 seasons. He has left us in a far better position of what he found us. I can't be more thankful to him as a man, as a manager. But see, as a person, why you pumping your chest? He's got to have known for at least a month. These things don't happen over 24 hours. His agent's been negotiating. He's known that there's an opportunity there. I heard comments yesterday saying that Celtic offered him a better deal, but he told them that there's another opportunity that's presented himself, and that's what he wants to pursue. So he sat down with Desmond 2-3 weeks ago, so he's known, and he's still going out and beating the chest. I can't go that, man. It's so disingenuous. It just screams politician to me. And yes, it's not as bad as Rodgers. Rodgers was out there getting it 10 in a row, and I'm here for the 10, and then jump ship mid-season, 3 days before we went to Tynecastle, like tried to gut the backroom staff, not even just go himself. So I don't think it is as bad as Rodgers. I don't think it feels as bad as Rodgers. But based on what Ange has said over the last couple of months, even the last couple of years, it doesn't match his actions. And to me, I can understand why people out there are angry. Now, I'll tell you how I feel about it, and then you can tell me how you actually feel about it, if you, or not unless you want to go first.
No, carry on.
So, if I'm being objective, I get why he's done it. And I'm also like, why did I think that he wasn't going to do it? He's not a Celtic fan. They've dangled a 4-year contract in front of him. He's probably going to, he's 55. He's probably going to set his family up forever. He's probably going to set future generations his family up forever. So it's the English Premier League. It's the biggest league on the planet. Tottenham are not a small team in the English Premier League. No,
top 6 on paper.
Yeah, on paper, top 4 probably. You know, like the last 5 years. So it's a project which Ange loves. He wants to do a rebuild. He wants to shape the club in his vision of how it can play. There's going to be a lot of money there. He's going to be dealing in a completely different market to what he was dealing with Celtic. And I hope that for his sake, he's spoke to Levy about how much control he actually gets at the club. There's an Australian director of football getting put into place at Tottenham, apparently, who's a personal friend of Ange. So a lot of this has came together and made, if I'm being objective, not for my Celtic supporter, it makes sense, I get it, and we move on. Also, Celtic are bigger than Ange. He knows that. We move. Stratton said it, I think, a few years ago, maybe in an interview somewhere. Celtic are that big a club that they should be freshening things up every 2 to 3 years. I just wish it had been the 3-year mark. The thing that's really kind of gnawing away at me, other than what he said, is that it feels like the job's unfinished. And also, we'll find out in the coming months how many of the players he's going to come for. And the backroom staffers talk about John Kennedy following him and Gavin Stratton following him. But I think yesterday I actually had the thought, do you know what? I'm excited to see what Celtic do next, because we're in a position of power. We've got guaranteed Champions League football. We're a really attractive prospect to any manager out there. So I'm starting to shift into this. Let's move on for Ange. Let's forget about him. Let's just make the DVD, make the book, high five him, let him go down to Tottenham, wish him well, and move on to whoever's next in at the club.
Well, I think you're totally right in the fact that as far as everything's laid up for him perfectly, in the sense of what the deal that he could walk into there. Having an Australian sporting director, I think, is a big deal. Obviously, it's somebody that he knows that can support him through this. You know, and like we say, Spurs are a big club that way. And, you know, as well, there's another element to this that I don't think has been talked about enough, which is the fact that this makes him the first Australian manager to be in the English Premier League.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
First ever. And I think that there's a big thing in that, where I think for us, obviously we're Celtic fans, Celtic is our number one, right? But for him, he came over here with I think with a lifetime goal of making life better and easier for Australian coaches to come over to this side of the world. I think that has been at the back of his head constantly. And he knows there's going to be more eyes on me, there's going to be more exposure. If I can go there, get Spurs top 4, I'm opening up doors for people in my country. And there's like it's the same thing with, having like a bigger purpose, like whatever you do. And I think in the back of his mind, that's always been like, I want to make the opportunities easier for other Australians. And that's probably part of what's going through here as well. Just that, as much as I believe that we're a bigger club than Spurs, the exposure they have is so much bigger than ours because of the Premier League and the glamour of it, and the fact that every game. But also, there could be an element of, you mentioned how Ange loves a rebuild, right? But what is it to rebuild at Celtic? Do you know what I mean?
This is the other thing. Like, I think you've nailed it. Like, and I think we'll try to be objective here, like you're saying earlier. Try to make this more about football, and try to take the sort of Celtic hat off and talk about things in an objective way. And I think if you're being objective, what is there more to achieve? Maybe get European football after Christmas. But other than that, the guy has clean sweeped it.
I don't think he thought he would though. This is what I'm saying. I think he may have thought when we were talking about how he was saying he'd be here for.
He's achieved what he thought he would achieve within 5 years, within 2.
And to be honest, that's probably what everybody thought as well. I never would have thought the guy would have come in and won what he's won.
So yeah. I think you've nailed that there. On the who's the bigger club, it depends on the metric. Historically, globally, Celtic are a bigger team. They've got a bigger support. They've got the richer history, but Tottenham make more money. Tottenham have a higher calibre player. Tottenham have got a stadium like that's only been built a few years, like an absolute coliseum, like a beautiful modern stadium. And they're playing in the biggest league in the world. So it depends on what metric that you're looking at that. I get this. I see this on Twitter all the time, this argument. Historically, Celtic are the bigger club. European Cup, Champions League football, like that type of thing. European nights at Celtic Park. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But if we look at the actual modern metrics for modern football, Tottenham make more money and they're in a bigger league and they're in a different market to us. They're signing a higher calibre player, and I think as Celtic supporters, you need to just accept that. Like, there's no getting away from that.
And I think they've probably got the best stadium in the UK.
Definitely up there. I think a lot of these stadiums like the Etihad and these are all like sort of like prefabricated and they all look very, very similar, but they're beautiful stadiums and there's no doubt
they're
about
one
that.
apparently supposed to be amazing. But see, the thing is about this whole question about Spurs and Celtic as well, it seems like the most pointless thing because it doesn't really matter. Like, Celtic fans are going to think Celtic are bigger, Spurs are going to think Spurs are bigger, and then everyone else between is just kind of having a wee chat about it, but it doesn't
Absolutely. I think if you were to go on a global scale, if you were to go to America, go to Canada, go to, Japan, go to Australia even, and you were to go, who do you recognise? I'd say that Celtic are the more recognisable brand, and there'll be more people be like, oh, Celtic, my granddad, like the history. But like we're saying, as far as the markets that these two teams play in, Tottenham are in a different market and a different league. And
the truth is, mate, every Premier League team have more money than Celtic. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like it's just a Spurs thing. It's a whole. It's almost like a different level of class. Like we're working class and middle class.
But how do you feel about what's your emotional reaction to Ange leaving?
I feel devastated, mate. I feel completely heartbroken about it, to be honest. Like I want to sit here and say, let's move on. Like, people are like, let's move on. I'm really excited for what's next. To be honest with you, mate, and I feel what you're saying. I wish I was the same. I'm not excited for what's next. I want him to stay. He's already gone. And I'm just like, I'm not ready to move on. But that's the thing about football, and that's the thing about life, is it just keeps going, and you need to, because otherwise, Rangers fans will be watching this going, we've got a really good chance now. Because honestly, when I looked at this, I think there's a bit of anger for me from the board perspective. Now, people aren't really talking about this as much, but I just felt as though when he came in and won the league last season, everybody could tell this guy was special, and I just felt like somebody's going to come in for him, tie him down to a long-term deal now.
Apparently, they offered, and he said no, he wanted to keep it to a year, because I think the reality is Ange probably knows that he's special as well.
Aye.
And so he's wanting to keep that door open.
Right.
To being able to just not be tied down for like 5 years or whatever like that. So the chat on the internet is that he was offered a longer term deal end of last season and at the end, like coming into the tail end of this season, and he turned it down.
See, now this is where your kind of politician point I feel comes to fruition a wee bit, and it really gets you a bit, because you do feel a wee bit played. I feel a bit played by him, because if he's had that in the back of his mind that long, well, he's coming out giving us the impression he's got a long-term plan for this, right? And it's not about, like, all I'm saying is even if you fast forward it to the week up to the Scottish Cup final, everybody keeps saying, oh, he wanted to focus on the game, blah, 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 blah. But honestly, I think that it'd have been better off, and the fans, it would have been better received if he just said to them, like, if he just told us, just tell us, I know there's a game coming up, but we're playing Inverness in the Scottish Cup final. I think the fans would have given him a good send-off and been like, we appreciate you being upfront about it. I know it's a difficult call because we had a Scottish Cup final. I can see why I wanted to focus on the game. But everybody was already focused on Ange going into it anyway. So just rip the Band-Aid off that, mate. Let us know. Rather than talking piss for a full week. Because for a full week, he's like... even still, as he was talking about it, he's still kind of giving you the impression that he's going to be here. He's not saying he's going to be here, but he's still talking about it as if this is all rumours and this is nonsense. As if he's not, so it's just like... there was a part of Ange that just felt so real and raw and authentic, And I think this last week or so, like, when you realise that this has been going on for a month, and then when you realise that even further back than that, he's knocking back a long-term contract end of last season, he always had this in his mind. So just act like that. Don't act like you've got that, don't try and kid on there's a different agenda in your head.
Yeah. I don't know how it would have went down if he was like, look, I'm a journeyman, and as soon as a bigger club comes in for me, I'll be away. I don't know if you get people to buy into your plan.
Obviously, if he wasn't like that.
Yeah. I think one of the big problems that we've got, and even in myself, is that we want everybody that comes and works at the club to feel the same way about the club that we do, and it's just not going to happen. Tommy Burns, guys like Tommy Burns are not normal, and I think as modern football goes on, these people become less and less and less. Yeah. Now, again, I go back to I thought 5 years minimum. Now, he said in a press conference, you'll be surprised how long I'm at this club. Well, I'm surprised. I mean, he didn't lie. It's just that it was surprised as in the short termness of it rather than the long term.
But that's the big problem here, mate. It is nobody ever expected Ange to be Tommy Burns or Martin O'Neill or however long he was going to stay. But you can't be saying stuff like you don't say stuff like that when you're knocking back a long term deal, because you might leave sooner rather than later. So when he says that, no Celtic fan, and he knows this, no Celtic fan's thinking, that must mean he's going to be away sooner rather than later. Then everybody knows what that means. Yeah. So when you come out and you're punching your chest and you're quoting Tommy Burns and you're talking about how the connection that he has with the fans and how they've supported him, I just feel like it would have been such a big boost to Celtic and to the relationship with the fans, to be able to be like, oh, he's actually not back Spurs for us. Yeah. It hasn't happened, but I'm just saying that you really did think that if there was one guy that would do that, it would have been this guy.
I was speaking to a mate on Saturday. I didn't get to watch the full cup final. I got to see the first half and then I had to go because I was working. And on the way back from my work, I sat in the car and I was like, what's the post-match chat? And getting in and listening to interviews, and I think maybe Sky Sports or the BBC tweeted, and he was like, I came in here as a joke, and like that sort of quote, and I text my mate and I went, he's away, and he was like, how? And I was like, there's something different about this post-match. He's less positive. He seems to have turned into this sort of like more, I don't know, there was like a sort of bitterness to the way that he was like, I was a joke when I came in here and look at what I've achieved, and I was just sort of like, I think he's gone, mate. He seems very somber and very low key. I just knew there was just something about the body language. I was like, oh man, this is it.
As soon as he didn't say it, see after the post cup final,
he was talking to Martin O'Neill.
As soon as he never said it there, he was gone. Like you could tell that as well, because this is what I'm saying though, is I realise that statements need to go out and things need to be done officially. But, like, I think that if you're going to come out and say that you've got this deep connection with the Celtic support, where's the genuine, I suppose, where's the genuine message from him? Because he had multiple chances throughout the week and after the game to talk about it.
So, and somebody that I was talking to yesterday were like, if you remember, like, Mourinho at Porto, they won the Champions League and he knew he was leaving to go to Chelsea, and he took his medal off and he walked off the field and he let the team celebrate. And I was like, that's interesting. They were like, Ange's out there pumping his chest and lifting the trophy with his medal in his neck. And they were like, look at the way Mourinho, he knew he was leaving Porto, so he was like, I've got no right to celebrate here. I'm going to leave it. Took his medal off and walked. You could go, well, I would prefer my manager to do what Ange did, or I would prefer my manager to do what Mourinho did. But it was an interesting sort of take on, like, if you look at that, like, I think that's more, they thought their opinion was that was more honourable, that he gave a clear signal to the fans, that's me gone. And there was all this sort of like, will he, won't he? But Ange went down it a different road and tried to sort of lap it up. And then in the final day of the season, to quote Tommy Burns, it kind of feels unforgivable if you're being emotional about it. But like I said, the last couple of days, as my emotions have started to come down, I'm like, this is football. I think this is the reality of football now. Everybody's a hired gun. Nobody really, truly cares that much outside of when they're there. And I genuinely wish the guy well. I hope he does well at Tottenham. What do you think? How, before we go on to who's going to be the candidates for the next manager, like at Celtic, how do you think he's going to get on at Tottenham?
Well, I think I guess just to finish on that, I think Ange, why do you need to do this to me, mate? Well, because the thing is as well, right? You question how much of it was. So you're talking about how every manager feels like they need to kind of big up to what the fans want and all that. But I've always thought that this is quite maybe a delusional thing for me to say, right? But I've always thought that we weren't like that we didn't need that. Like, we didn't need to be sort of, led on in a sense. And that example you use is so good because it's like, he's coming out with the cup. You're watching him stand on the pitch with Never Walk Alone. You're looking at him and you're going, it's not the body language of a guy that's leaving. He's celebrating with the players. He's got the trophy in his hand. Doesn't actually see. You're watching him. You're going, how can you experience that and leave? And even Joe Hart's interview as well. I don't know if you've seen that, but there was a big giant cheer for the crowd for Ange coming over, and Joe Hart was getting interviewed like right after that during it. And Joe Hart said the message is clear. He said it was a very brief thing he said, but it was clear that the players wanted him to stay, the fans wanted him to stay. And I just think that, I also think there's a possibility that he genuinely didn't believe that an opportunity like this would come along. I think he thought it's going to take England a long time to see me seriously. Mm-hmm. I don't think he thought the Spurs job was, because he was not the first candidate or the second candidate or probably even the third candidate. Do you know what I mean? So they obviously there was a bunch of people, the guy that was at Bayern Munich, there's a bunch of guys that were linked with them. And there's a part of me that believes that he didn't think he would get this opportunity, and then when it came along, he was like, I don't want to go, but I need to, kind of thing. And that's what I want to believe. Mm-hmm. Because if I want that to be true, but if it's not true, it just means it just played into what he thought we wanted to hear. And like you say, quoting Tommy Burns the last day of the season, celebrating the trophy and that, and then you leave, you're just like, no way. But at the end of the day, mate, Spurs have got a world-class manager, and I think that they genuinely wouldn't surprise me if they won a cup and got to top 4 next season. Yeah, mate. I said this to my mate. If they let him build a team, let him cook. They let Ange cook. I always see that on Twitter. See if I see the guys on Twitter, they're like, let him cook. That's a new saying the young teams use it. Right, what does it mean? It just says let them do that. Like, if let them do their thing. Let them cook, mate. That's I think if they back him and they give him free rein to go into the market and buy the players that he needs to play the system, if he gets anywhere near to getting the squad on board the way that he has at Celtic, and I said this to my mate the other day, it wouldn't surprise me if they win the Prem. I believe in the guy that much. I believe in him. I'm so the same with you. I didn't want to. Do you know what? By the way, sorry to cut you off. I didn't want to say it because I didn't have the boss to say it, but you said it. I believe in Ange so much. Mate, I believe in him as a coach, as a manager. I believe in his ability to spot a player, to motivate a player to give more. And I think his system that he plays is so clear. And he apparently, going by all accounts for other people, he's so good at communicating that vision to players. If he gets the players that he wants, mate,
I don't know why not. Like, I mean, he has definitely got the personality, the presence, and I think the actual ability to win a champ. He's won championships everywhere he's went. Why would you doubt it? Like, when he came here, this is why when I had that thought the other day, I also was like, what, are you kidding? And then I was like, well, wait a minute. When he came in at Celtic, I was sitting in here with you going, we're winning nothing this season. The doubt. So why would you doubt him twice? Why would you make that same mistake twice? So I think if Levy backs him, if Levy can give up control of the club to him, to his vision, I think they'll win something. I agree with you. I think, said this to another mate who's a Man United fan, top four's as good as winning the Prem, really. And he was like, I agree. Because it's like, that's the goal, isn't it? Champions League football and getting that, you know, the prestige. So top four finish with a cup. I mean, when was the last time Tottenham won anything? It'll be a legend there as well,
mate,
you know.
I mean, the thing is about top four, though, I would say it's probably the hardest time to get in the top four for England that there's ever been. When you look at Newcastle are in there, right? This season, like Liverpool, Chelsea fell right off. They're going to bounce back this season.
Yeah, Man United look like they're on the up under
so
Den Hag.
You get Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United,
Man City.
You know, they're all looking strong, and that's not
Brighton are looking strong as well.
Exactly. So, and you're expecting Chelsea and Liverpool will be thinking top four, at least for them. So one of those teams is going to need to miss out in order for Spurs to get in there, which is a big challenge. But I do think, honestly, it would not surprise me if they challenge for the Premier League next season. And if, you know, because see, to be honest, Spurs' actual team is a good team, good players in it, but they just haven't had, for whatever reason, it just not worked. And I think that when I've not obviously sat and analysed Spurs' last few years, but there's obviously been problems with managers. I just think that Ange is that good. He is that good that he can do. Because people don't understand, people that don't watch our game here don't understand how bad a state Celtic were in when
he took over.
We were in a total shambles, mate.
I think my only concern for him
is the start of it, mate.
Is the start. Yeah. If do you think that if he gets off to the similar sort of start that he did at Celtic in the first 10 games, that Tottenham's supporters and Daniel Levy are going to give him that time? I don't know. I mean, it is instant success, really, needed.
But there's a big caveat to that I would say. When he came in at Celtic, he came in at the end of the pre-season, I'm pretty sure. Because we spent the full summer trying to get Eddie Howe. Mm-hmm. He's coming in right at the start of this now. I think that could be a key difference. I think that was the only reason why we had such a bad start to the season. If he gets backed before the ball's kicked and then they get a full pre-season in, I think they'll start off well. Who
do you think in this, before we move on to the managerial candidates at Celtic, who do you think he's going to come for? Because, like, here's my thing. Jota's not good enough for the Premier League. Like, people are talking about he'll come for Jota. No chance. Like, no. I don't think there's any chance of that. There's maybe even a wee doubt in my mind about Kyogo.
Carter Vickers, mate.
I think Carter Vickers, 100%. I think Hatate. He'll come for Hatate.
Really? You think so? I think he'd come for Kyogo before Hatate.
I think... Do you think Kyogo's good enough to lead the line in the Premier League?
There's people keep saying this, but honestly, yeah. Because
fair enough.
Because there was something that Ange kept going on about Kyogo in the first season they had that was really frustrating him. Every press conference he was talking about how nobody can read Kyogo's runs fast enough. Like, we don't have midfielders that are reading his, like, so he'll make 100 runs during a game, but we only pick him out 5 times or something like that.
Right.
So I think he kept saying things like that. So I just think that maybe actually at a higher level, especially when you think about the fact that a lot of Kyogo's actual style of play is probably would be much more suited to be a counter-attack.
Right.
To be like a counter-attack type of... But how much... Basically, what I'm trying to say is, how much does Kyogo's strength get utilised with his runs when we're playing teams that are set at the 18-yard line?
That's very interesting. So the list that we've got just now is Cameron, Carter Vickers. I think Hatate. I think Hatate's a step above I genuinely do. I think that guy plays with slippers on, and I think a lot of he's been coming back for injury very recently, and I think that we've all got short memories of how good a football player he actually is. So I think that I would be worried about Callum McGregor. Because I think that Callum McGregor McGregor could easily play in the Prem.
He could, but see, honestly, if he comes from McGregor, man, like I think, see, in terms of any good chat I get with this guy, it would all be gone. It would all be gone.
And then we're adding in Kyogo.
Well, do you know why it would be gone? Because he would know what he'd be doing with that if he takes Callum McGregor away. Like, see, every one of them, I think every single one of the players you just mentioned, as much as I love them all, they're all replaceable. As much as it's going to be hard to replace them, that we can replace them.
Mm-hmm.
But losing McGregor would be catastrophic.
What about a wild card in Alistair Johnson?
That would be surprising. I would actually, if I was going to get a wild card, I'd probably give you the other fullback.
Greg Taylor?
Now, I know that sounds crazy, right? But it's just because of the system that he plays. He plays inverted fullbacks, and I think it's hard to find a fullback that's so comfortable in the centre. And Taylor is comfortable at that. I don't think he will because he's lack of pace, but I think he plays that inverted fullback role really well. So it wouldn't surprise, because fullbacks are like really important to the guy's system. So like Alistair Johnson or Taylor could be up for grabs. I mean, you would think the good thing about all the players we've just mentioned is we've got them all on long-term contracts.
Yeah.
So what we should be doing is, look, if he's come for any of these guys, put an extra 10 million on whatever price he's asking for. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, at least get the guy to spend some money. Do you know, like, because this would just be. But I actually don't think that he's going to come for as many, if any.
Right, because we all thought that Rodgers would come for.
Well, there was one. Who was the guy?
He didn't. He didn't come for anybody, really.
And do you know the best example for the Rodgers thing as well? Remember Benkovic? He got a centre half, and then he loaned him for Leicester, and then he went to Leicester, and you thought Benkovic will get a game for Leicester now, and didn't see the guy at all. I mean, I do think, for me, Carter Vickers is the standout obvious one, because you go, how hard is it to get a centre half that's that good? But I do think as well, would he want to go back to Spurs? You know, he was already there. I guess that he would be the kind of most likely one. And then for me, because of the whole Harry Kane situation,
I think Kyogo. Fair enough.
Because he's going to need a striker, and you probably need two strikers to replace Harry Kane anyway. So I think he could probably, but do you know, and then that kind of goes on to what manager we should have coming in then.
Mm-hmm.
Should we get into that?
Yes, let's get into that before we wrap up.
Because so obviously this has all been a bit of a whirlwind, but I'm going to tell you something. I really want us to get a manager that plays a very similar style. I still want to see inverted fullbacks, mate. I want to see inverted fullbacks. I want to see Greg Taylor taking shots for edge of the box. Like, the style of play that I've watched the last couple of years, I kind of go back for it. I want that to stay. People are talking about John Kennedy and Gavin Strachan leaving and stuff like that. You touched on that earlier. What I would say to that is, I think it's a good thing. I think, as much as people are like, oh, we want a bit to stay, I just think that this is a good chance for us just to clear it all out and start again. But we're starting again with a young team, with no Champions League qualifiers, with a full summer ahead of us. It's on the board now to take action quickly. We need to get somebody in the next week, in my opinion.
The next week? Wow.
Like if it was me, I'm just saying, let's not fuck about. We got a full summer here. Now, there's been a few names mentioned that we should go through. I'm personally not a fan of this Man City guy. I don't think so we're talking about I believe it's the assistant manager at Man City to Guardiola.
Yeah.
Now, that sounds good, right? But I just think he had a bad spell at an Italian team, I'm sure. And I don't think he'd be a terrible appointment, because I think he would obviously play the style of football that I just mentioned. So what I'll preface to say is by saying that...
So is this the Enzo how do you say that guy's name?
Aye.
Maresca.
Maresca.
Enzo Maresca.
Now, what I'll say is, see all the candidates that have been linked for the Celtic job. I'm not hugely against any of them. I think that they're all decent.
Right. I know that Rodgers is in the frame.
All right, we should probably talk about that.
But I'd heard also that he took himself out of the running, but then I've heard conflicting reports as well saying no, he's still in the running for it.
Well, obviously that quote from it has been flown about with
2019 where he said he would come back, but he didn't know how he would be received.
But I mean, right, here's I've been thinking about this, like, because I've been really trying to think about what is the biggest problem with Rodgers. So like, because when I've thought about it, see, when I think about it materialistically and trying to take my emotions out of it, I go, take that, man. Fucking, we'll take him back, defo. Right? And then you go, but what is the thing that's nagging me? I think the thing that is really nagging me about it is the fact that it's dangerous in the sense that you're basically getting him back knowing that it's purely going to be based on results. Now, hear me out here, because you're probably thinking it's always based on results. What the fuck are you talking about? What I'm saying is that with Ange, there was this connection with the Celtic support, and there was like this, when he went through that bad spell when he first came in, it was almost like we all knew something was going on though. Like, we didn't get the results, but we were progressing somewhere.
Yeah. I think I know what you're going to say here.
No Celtic fan is going to be giving Brendan Rodgers any fucking leeway, mate. Like,
yeah.
So I think that when football can be very fickle, when the only thing you have is purely based on what the end of the game result was like. And as soon as he draws a couple of games, or we go on the Champions League group stage and get hammered, people are going to be slaughtering him, man. I wouldn't. It's a negative. I just think it's a lot of negativity.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of going backwards,
especially when. So I think it'd be more. I think Rodgers would be more an option if we were more needing a safe pair of hands. I think if there was ever a point to go for a gamble, it'd probably be now.
I agree. I don't like the idea of Rodgers. I'm not a fan of moving backwards. If he is the Celtic manager, if that's what the board choose, I'll back it, you know. But at the tail end of Rodgers, I wasn't really liking the football. I wasn't really that mental. The way that he treated Dembele, like the sort of fallout for that.
And what Dembele said about him as well.
Like, that's not my pick.
No, neither.
Enzo, what did we say his second name was there?
I was about to say Mascarpone there. See,
Enzo Maresca. I would be like, it's interesting, kind of similar to Ange. Like, what's the guy's credentials? How does it look? You know, he's worked under Pep. Pep doesn't take bad coaches under his assistant manager, and so I would be like, right, that's interesting. Let's see how it plays out. This might sound, you might be like, what? My personal pick's Potter.
Same here, mate.
I think he's if he's free, if he's available, if he wants to come to Celtic, I think we would be daft no to give Potter a chance at it. That's just my personal opinion on it.
Well, there's a point that I would make about guys like I forget his name already, man. You just said his name there. The Man City guy,
Enzo.
The point I would make about guys like
Maresca
is that Celtic are kind of in this weird place where we can't go out and pursue a world class manager away from somewhere, right? So we sort of need to discover them before the rest of the world discovers them, right? So with that in mind, you're always going to have to take a gamble in order to get somebody like Ange.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know Ange is Ange until you try it, and then hopefully it goes that way. But
it was the worst kept secret in world football, though. So
but that's what I'm saying
as a supporter, we've got no idea who Ange Postecoglou is.
It's the same idea with a guy like him, obviously less experienced than that, but the idea is that what if he is the next Pep Guardiola and we're taking a gamble on him?
Maresca? Yeah, absolutely. That's why I wouldn't be too discouraged if it was him. I think the guy at Bodo Glint seems to be
heavily linked as well.
the sort of like, if we could get him, that would be the ideal scenario. He plays a really good style of football. He's a really good coach. They pumped us,
and also they're in a much smaller budget than we are.
Yeah,
they pumped us,
absolutely. So he's definitely got the tactics and the motivation and all that stuff. But he's been linked with Ajax, and I would say that anybody that's not associated with Celtic, again, if it's going to be between Celtic and Ajax, I think they're going to pick Ajax.
But then, who won the Dutch league?
Maybe Feyenoord.
I think Feyenoord won it. Which might make us, for some reason, a little bit better of a prospect, I guess.
Yeah.
Because they've obviously went downhill pretty fast in terms of their season. They started off as well. Anyway, what I would say is that the Bodo Glimt guy would be sort of the most, well, I guess, realistic and well-rounded one to get, I would imagine, especially in terms of experience. Maresca feels like too much of an unnecessary risk for me. I would probably want somebody with a bit more experience. The thing about Graham Potter, which I think is interesting, is he feels in a very similar situation to how Rodgers was before he joined Celtic in 2015-16. In the sense that, you know, Rodgers had just led Liverpool, a big English team, didn't work out very, didn't end very well. The same thing with Potter, did really well at Brighton, did really well before that, went to a club that was all over the place, didn't go well, but like it seems like he's on a similar sort of point that Rodgers was when he came to Celtic. And he seems like a manager that will be back up there at some point, probably a future England manager if things go well. So he would be the one where if we were sitting here saying Graham Potter was a new Celtic manager, I would be fully content with that. But I think realistically, I do think that I feel like our board's going to go for the Man City guy.
Maresca.
There has been a mention of Jesse Marsh as well. Now, I think I love his personality. I think he plays good attacking football. I just think that the way that I think that he might do at Celtic is probably the same way that Leeds fans felt. That he was going to push them on. And now they're relegated. Do you know what I mean? So I just think that his last two jobs haven't gone very well and probably not the kind of manager you want to be going for right now. So are we saying Graham Potter? Is this what we're saying?
Well, I would need between him and...
Is that even right? I mean, see that what I would say about him as well, is he not? He just got a big... He would have got loads of money compensation-wise for leaving that job at Chelsea. So would he not then need to leave, like, somehow be bought out for that to sign for or something?
I don't know.
Does that make that?
We don't know the complications
because
of
what
that.
I'm saying is, see if he's just been given like £50 million, he's probably thinking, fuck managing any team, man, I'm going to chill out for a bit.
Of course.
So,
I think like all of the names that we've mentioned there.
Well, David Moyes hasn't even, we didn't speak about David Moyes. What do you think about that? He's been talked about a few times.
Moyes always gets mentioned.
He does. Is he ever going to take it?
I don't know if he ever gets approached or if he's always just the paper, you know. It's like back in the day when Gus Hiddink, you know, it was like back in the late 90s, early 2000s, every time there was a Celtic job coming up, there was always these 2 or 3 names that always get through about because there was some sort of connection there. But I don't know, man. I don't think David Moyes will... I don't think he would take it.
What about that guy that was a manager at Southampton?
Yeah, I'd seen him get mentioned.
Because I liked him. I thought he was good.
I don't know, man.
I think they might have said if he said that. Personally. But
I think for me, if we could get somebody like, or if we could get Graham Potter, I'd be happy. If we could get the guy for Bodo Glimt, I'd be happy. If we could get Jesse Marsh, I'd be happy. I think if we go for Enzo Maresca, I'll be intrigued, but I'll be nervous in a similar sense of when Ange came in. He's
too similar to my thing with it is, look, we can talk all day about how we want Celtic to do well in Europe and all that, but the main thing for us is beating Rangers and winning the league and winning the Scottish Cups and the League Cups. Like, as much as Europe is amazing and I love it, but it will never mean more to me than beating Rangers. So with that in mind, I just feel like the big thing that we had on Rangers was the fact that Ange had all this experience over Michael Beale. But what you're doing is you're kind of leveling it, gambling on the fact that this Maresca could be special. But what if he's not? And then we're fucked. So
when it comes to picking a new manager or anything like that, they don't even come into my thoughts.
I know, well, I'm obsessed, obviously, for the.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about
I'm just saying,
or Rangers, and
I'm just playing the advocate and saying, look, they're obviously. I look at it and I go. Basically, what I'm saying is, I would like a guy with a bit of experience. I don't think that guy has enough experience to be Celtic manager.
It's an absolute fair comment. I don't think anybody could have an issue with you saying that somebody that's not got a lot of experience doesn't have a lot of experience.
Because, as you said at the start of this video, and as much as it's been painful to acknowledge this, but it is just true. So he's away. But the fact of the matter is, we're actually in a really good position, guaranteed Champions League football, off the back of a treble, all sorts of young, talented players on full-term contracts. Jota's got 4 years left, Vickers has got 3 years left, Hatate and all them, they've all got 3-4 years left. So if we've either got them for the long term or we're selling them for a good bundle of cash. If you're a new manager coming in, there's nothing to fix here. We just need you to take this squad to the next level.
Yeah.
So in that sense, if you were going to take a gamble on Mariska, now would be the time to do it. And it helps the fact for any new manager coming in that 10 in a row isn't about anymore. It's not this big thing. We're not sitting talking about, well, if we win like 8 trophies, we'll be fucking, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So I think that's good because it's all about the now and it will help the manager that comes in. And you can't, I don't think I would be too critical of the guy that's understood that he Pep Guardiola, but did you hear that interview that he gave where he was like, I'm good pals with the Celtic owner?
Yeah, I think did they not put him through like some sort? Celtic sponsored him to get put through some sort of like badge or some sort of license.
And him and Desmond play golf and that together.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
Because what they should just do is he should just let his assistant take over to Man City, and then come and
Pep should come.
He must he should just come over. I think that I'm just getting big boots stuff. I think Pep could probably he could probably.
I'm pretty sure he could do all right.
Do it. I think that would probably help me go over it as well. Pep, if you fancy coming down with it. Okay, well, it's almost like this thing where I want to hate him, but I can't. I want to hate Ange.
We still love him, but
and I will say, just to finish on a positive note, I will say that I'm genuinely so grateful for what he's done, and him coming in. We had no right to win it the first season he came in. I'll never forget. That season is one of the most special seasons ever because we should never even been close to them, never mind winning it. And everything about it was like every game was so exciting. Everything in football that you love, and it just went the way that we wanted it to go. So there's a bunch of things that you're just like, I can't believe what this guy's done. And see, at the end of the day as well, I'd rather he left now than in Miller next season. So if he was already thinking about leaving, I suppose in some ways he's done the honourable thing.
And it's the best thing all around.
Because he said to himself, look, I want to go, so I'm better going now than going. And
100%,
fair play to him. Just please, for the love of God, don't come for Callum McGregor. See, as soon as you even mentioned that, I never even thought about it, mate. I'd never even considered the idea, but if he comes from McGregor, man, I'll be driving myself down to London. Do you know? I am genuinely gutted because we talked about me somehow managing to link up because I talk to some guys at Celtic sometimes, and I've been talking to them about trying to get a wee conversation with Ange, and it's quite gutting to never have met the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to meet him and just be like, by the way, you're amazing. Not that he doesn't already know that, but it would have been amazing to just sort of experience what his vibe was like. And now he's away, and you're like, you didn't even give me time to think about this one. So hopefully the next person that comes in is able to take on the responsibility the same way that Ange has done, and just have the same sort of communication. But please, if you are somebody that's going to come in and want a bigger job at some point, fair enough. Just spare me all the fucking I love the club and all that. Just spare me all that. I'm not one of them. I don't need to hear that push. do you know what I mean? I feel like Ange convinced you that he was really, really connected with you, and I felt that. And I think a lot of Celtic fans did feel that, and it feels like you've been played a wee bit and you feel like he hasn't quite been as up front with you as you want them to be. And so I'm going, well, this is like a common trend. Either the managers need to kind of be more honest, which is unlikely because that's not how football works, or we need to start getting close up to the fact that if somebody's coming out and putting the badge and talking about Tommy Burns and all that, doesn't mean they're going to be here for 10 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
But I think, and do you know what annoys me the most about it as well, mate, is after Rodgers, I was like, I never let myself get that invested again.
Well, we did. That's what we got to do.
Honestly, but listen, we won the treble, and I got the score prediction spot on, so that's all that really matters. If you go back, I honestly haven't back much of it. You asked me what you think the score will be, and I said 3-1.
Yeah.
As soon as they scored, I thought it's gonna be 3-1,
and it turned out right. So congratulations.
That's our first prediction video, and I got it spot on. So hopefully that's a trend.
Keeps going. Yep.
I'll just need to make sure that I predict Celtic win every time, even if we're playing Barcelona next season in the Champions League. But anyway. Yeah, I think that we've managed to go through most of that, haven't we?
Yep.
We survived it. I didn't cry, which I'm really proud of. Because honestly, mate, Ange leaving has been a bit of a difficult thing to comprehend. I haven't cried about it, don't worry. But what I would say is that I think we're all kind of, there's an element of us that's a bit like in shock about it all. And hopefully, I just hope the Celtic board are on the ball and not, giving Lennon a contract in the showers kind of thing. You know what I mean? I just hope we go and push on and back whoever comes in, because whoever comes in isn't going to want to go to Japan, probably. Do you know what I mean? So we're going to need to come up with what our strategy is. And we said at the start of this video that it was going to be a 20-minute video, but it's turned into a full-blown podcast, isn't it?
Yep.
That's something that I've tended to struggle with in these short videos, but hopefully we'll get more into it next season. But no, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more news coming in, transfers. We'll talk about other clubs as well, I'm sure, going into the next season. And it's going to be a very interesting summer, that's for sure.